All right, let's go through these steps on how to set up one of these 4-bay ASUSTOR NASs. Great spot where you can just put a whole bunch of disks, put all your data, your movies, your TV shows, your documents, share it out on your network, and install applications onto it. The sky is the limit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just get the thing up and running. We're gonna put some disks in, we're then gonna set it up, gonna configure it. Before we do get into that, please do remember to subscribe, click on the button and on the bell so that you don't miss out on anything. You know, sometimes it can get quite frustrating with the limited amount of ports that are coming on computers nowadays. I mean, I've got myself a MacBook Pro and I've only got USB-Cs. I mean, that can be frustrating, but with this dock, I can get an additional 15 ports. How amazing is that? This is the Mini Sapporo. This is the MD6950D dock. I can set up an additional 3 monitors on my computer. It's incredible. It comes with all the bits that you need. And look, it is full of adapters. It's got your displays, display port, as well as HDMI. You've got Ethernet. You've even got some USB-Cs if you want to have an additional expansion on USB-Cs, big SD cards, micro SD cards, and some standard USBs and a headphone jack. And you can also charge your computer all through that one single USB-C cable, which you just run into the side of your computer. So if you've been looking for a dock that has all the ports, you need to check out this Mini Sapporo. I've thrown a link to it down below in the video description. Here is the Drivestor 4 Pro. Inside of it comes with a quad core CPU. Quad core, yes, you heard that right. Comes with a whole bunch of DDR4 RAM, and you can even get 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, not your standard 1 gigabit Ethernet. This can go up to 2.5. Now this thing is awesome, especially if you're going to be running any sort of media software onto it, which I will be running Plex onto this. It can do 4K transcoding. Other cheaper NASs are going to struggle sometimes when they're running big quality videos and movies and things like this. Not this particular one. So first things first is you're going to put your hard drives inside of the unit. The big 3.5 inch or the smaller 2.5 inches, whatever the combination is, where they're going to plug in the power, run in your blue network cable, get it up and running on your network. Make sure that it's connected to a switch or whatever it is that is running on your network. And then we're going to log in via a web browser to set this thing up. The first thing you need to do is you need to go and download the ASUSTOR Control Center. This will essentially scan your network and find your NAS. You can also use the version on a phone, which is awesome. So any device that you've got, you can now use to configure your NAS for the first time, and then any device that's on your network you can then use to log into your NAS and configure it and change things later on. So because I'm here on my Mac computer, I'm going to go and download the ASUSTOR Control Center right over here. Windows and the Mac, I'm going to select download. So I'm on the Mac, you're on Windows, process is completely the same. I'm going to go and say open that. So what this has now done is it's now scanned my network, and here it is. It's found my NAS. It's given it an IP address. I now know that the IP address is 172.16.1.178. I can go and change that and make that a static IP, an IP that never changes. I can do that later on. It's picked up a number of other information options right over there, and it's showing me that the status right now is that it's uninitialized. It's not been set up just yet. So I'm going to click on that over there, and then what will happen, I'll see this page right over here. Welcome to the ASUSTOR Data Master, or the ADM OS. OS, of course, standing for operating system. It's giving me the model number, my serial number, and a little bit more of information around my NAS, okay? Looking good. So now I start to set it up. This is the initial configuration for my NAS. I'm going to select next. Do you want to update your ADM? So the update the ADM is available. Essentially, this is the software on your NAS, and the version that I've got running right now is an old version, and since then there's been a new version that's been released. It's always good practice to be running the latest versions if you can. So we are going to select that top option right over here. We're going to do a live update. Otherwise, you do have an option just to keep it to the same version. Let's let it do its thing. Once that's done, your system will automatically update and automatically reboot, and then we go from there. After the reboot, you got a whole bunch of terms and conditions which you can go ahead and read. As long as you're fine with those, you can accept them. And then we click on next. Now we do the initial configuration, initialization. Do you want it light? Do you want it dark? Light or dark? I like dark personally. System settings. Do you want a one-click setup, or do you want to custom it? Do you want to let ASUSTOR give you its defaults, its recommended default settings? You can go ahead and do that. or you can customize it and make it your own right now. Regardless of whichever option you choose, all of this stuff is customizable and changeable later on. So once you set it all up, if I can click on one-click setup, I can then go and change it later on if I need to. So for now, I'm going to select that one right over there and say next. Now, a little bit more information right over here. It's going to ask me for the server name. Now, the server name here is what is the name of my NAS? This is now my new NAS. What do I want to call it? Well, I'm going to call it Emilio ASUSTOR. What is my account name? Who is the user going to be? All right, the user is going to be Emilio. And I'm going to now give it a long and complex password and confirm it. Which best describes your data storage requirements? You'll see that there are a couple of options, maximum capacity or balanced. Now you'll see that over here, it's gone and calculated it based on the disks that I've put inside of my unit. The total capacity that I can use right now in balance mode is going to be 9.27 gig. Let's give or take 1 terabyte using a RAID level of RAID 1. Now RAID, we can go into a lot more detail. There's a whole other video that I've got dedicated on RAID if you want to know a little bit more about RAID and the different types of RAID if you need to. But balanced, maximum capacity, you'll see it's gone up to 1.81 terabytes, but now it's a RAID 0. What this has done is it's now essentially grabbed both disks and it's gone, hey, this is the total capacity available, but RAID 0 will not have any redundancy, while RAID 1 will have redundancies. If one disk fails, you don't lose any of your data. Now, I've only got this for demo purposes, but of course your NAS is going to be a completely different number. If you've pumped it with big disks, you're going to have a much bigger number than I will, or smaller number if you've got less disks than me. Something that you'll need to note right here is that it says that all data stored on this hard drive will be erased. So if you've got any hard drives, if you've taken these hard drives out of another computer or another external hard drive, and you've put them in there and you want to use these on your NAS, the data is going to be gone. So just be aware of that before you do go and select start initialization. But if you're happy with all of this and you understand that statement, click on that and say start. Now it'll start to do its thing. So let's let this do its thing. It may take a little bit or a long time, depending on how much disks you've got and how big your disks are. Now that we're ready to go, we now need to register your NAS. Is this your first NAS product, and do you have a ASUSTOR ID or not? In here, you don't have to do this, but it's nice to do that. So that way you're registered with ASUSTOR, you can get support, you can understand warranty information, all of that sort of stuff. If you've already got an ID, you can throw that into there, or you can also register later. And we say start. A little information about your privacy. And I actually really like this because a lot of people will not go and do some of the stuff by default, but it's giving you some recommendations around using a strong password, making sure that you're changing your password regularly, that you're turning off SSH, that you're using these system ports. These are the ports that are going to be used to access your NAS. So at least you can see all of these, but you can go and change all of this later on. If you're happy with the defaults here, you can select agree and OK. And now ASUSTOR has created essentially a wizard for you to follow step by step to go and set up the things that you need, or you can go and don't ask me again and go and do it yourself. But because this is the first time that we're going to be doing it, let's go ahead and select start. Are there more than one person using your NAS? Yes or no? If there's more than one, this will let you go and create additional users at home, additional users in your business. Bit of a guide here letting you know that this is where your files are stored. If you think about the Windows Explorer on Windows, if you think about the Finder on your Mac, it's the same sort of thing here on our NAS, right? Bit of an information there about how to drag and drop files. You can go and read all that in your own time. Do you want to learn more about shared folders? Yes or no? We're not going to do that right now. Now, because this is detected that I'm on a Mac, it's going to ask me, do I want to be able to access my NAS from my Mac? Now, of course, the probable answer will be yes, you do. That way you can access files and download files to it. The same deal if you're on a Windows computer, you want to be able to access your NAS through your Windows computer, but we leave that for another time. Do you want to be able to access your NAS from outside its local network? Essentially, do you want to be able to expose your NAS out to the internet? Now, even though it says yes, and you can do that and you can open it up, I'm probably going to say, don't do this. Don't expose your NAS or any of your data out to the internet unless you really know what you're doing and you understand a little bit about securing your network. Okay, so I'm going to say no. Do I want to receive notifications? So for example, if my NAS is going to have a problem, if the disk is running full, if something's running a little bit too hot or there's an error, do you want it to send you a notification to let you know what has happened? They're quite cool. So you can go and select yes on that. You can go and set that up right here. This is the Defender app, essentially to secure your NAS. I'm going to enable it, and now my NAS is ready to go for the most part. It's good to go right here. Now I can go and configure as much stuff or as little as I need to right here, including inside my settings area. If you want to learn a little bit more about your storage itself, you can click on the storage manager here on your desktop. You can see an overview, some volume information, a little bit here about your hard drives, and a few other things as need be. And of course, this is the desktop of my ASUSTOR NAS, a fully fledged operating system that is installed on my NAS to be able to go and upload files, download files, and use everything that I need to right on my NAS. Now with my NAS all set up and ready to go, one of the first things that I love to do with any NAS is to install the Plex Media Server, essentially allowing me to convert my NAS into a server that is managing all of my movies, my TV shows, my home movies, all of that sort of stuff in the one single spot. That's what Plex will do. You can install it completely for free and have it running on your NAS. And as long as you've got all of your content running on your NAS, when I say content, all of your media, your movies, your TV shows, stored on your NAS, you just point your Plex Media Server to that content, and then you open up your phone, any other device that you've got, you install the Plex application on that device. It'll scan your network and then find your NAS that is running Plex, and then you get it all up and running. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So as long as your NAS is set up, ready to go, you've got some disk space, we can now go and open up the App Store, essentially the application area where the App Central, where all of your applications are installed and managed, etc. On our ASUSTOR NAS over here. Okay, going to agree to some things here because I've never done this before. It's a brand new NAS, ready to go. And right over here is my Plex Media Server. If I click on that, take advantage of the 30-day free trial of Plex Pass. Well, I'm not going to be using Plex Pass. That's a whole different thing altogether. Lets you do some other stuff, but you can still install Plex completely for free and fully use it. So we're going to select install right over here. Okay, a little bit of information here about what it needs. That this app requires the following shared folders. Fine, it'll do that. Plex, the default port of the Plex server will be that. You need to make sure that that is open. So if you're managing a firewall and things like that, that's good to know. Otherwise, it'll probably be open on your home or business network unless somebody has specifically blocked it. Okay. Reverse proxy will automatically be set up. Don't worry about that unless you really want to understand a little bit more of the technical components about what that is. And that is it. Do you want to be able to enable port forwarding for Plex to be able to use this over the internet? This is a nice feature if you do want this or not, essentially allowing you to access all of your Plex content over the internet. I probably don't recommend doing this because you're essentially exposing your NAS a little bit out to the internet. Not a good practice, I don't think, unless you really have a good security setup in place. Okay, so we're going to select install. With that done, here is my Plex Media Server. Now, before I go ahead and open this up, I now need to get my content onto my NAS. Now, if I've got it installed on my computer, I need to go and copy my movies, my TV shows, my home movies, all of that onto my NAS. Because the whole point of Plex, of course, is to manage all of this content in one single spot. So it probably makes sense to have all of that physical data sitting physically on my NAS. So I need to copy that data onto my NAS. If I open up the File Explorer, which is the place where I go and manage all of my stuff, you'll see there's a folder in here called Plex. It's got a library, etc. right onto here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a brand new share. A share that I can manage and access on my network. And I'm going to be able to point my Plex Media Server to this new location. All right. I'm going to open up my File Explorer over here. And what I want to do is I want to now create a new folder where all of my media is going to sit. You'll see that there is a folder in here called Plex. So I could use that, or I can go and create a brand new, right-clicking on ADM, create new shared folder. I'm going to go and actually do that. That way it's all stored in the one spot and I know the name. As I said, look, you can use Plex if you want to, but I'm going to go and select add. I'm going to give this one a name called media. All my videos sit in here. Where's the volume? That's where it's going to sit. I'm going to select next. I want it to be read and write for all users, or read only for all users and read write for administrators. Well, you can go and select the permissions that are relevant for you. We can talk about permissions in another video, but you go and select whatever settings work for you right over here. A little summary of what's going to happen. I'm going to select finish. Okay, there's now a folder in here called media. And in here, I'm going to go and start creating some new folders. I'm going to call it movies, create a new folder called travel videos. etc. And now I need to get some content into here. So I'm going to go into my movies folder and I'm going to go and upload. I'm going to say overwrite. And on my desktop on my Mac, I've got already a folder here called Plex. And this is where all of my content currently sits. It's currently sitting all on my Mac, but I don't want it on my Mac anymore because I'm running out of space. So I want to put it all on my NAS. So I'm going to go and select some of the movies or all of the movies that I want to now copy into my NAS and then use Plex to be able to manage all of that. It'll then start to upload a whole bunch of stuff into here. Okay, so we've just set up a few things in here. So under my media folder, I've now created a movies, travel videos, TV shows. I've gone and I've uploaded a whole bunch of movies. Under TV shows, you'll see that I've given the TV show a name. Within there, there's a season title, season 5, season 1, 2, 3, etc. And then it's named in a specific format. S for season, 05, E for episode 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want to ideally have them in that sort of format so that when Plex does a little scan of the internet, it picks up all of the correct information. So with all of that now set up and all of the data now residing on our NAS, I can go ahead and open up the Plex media server and start configuring it. Now you need to create a Plex account or sign in with a Plex account if you've already got one. If you don't have one, then you can log in using either a Google, Facebook, or Apple IDs, accounts that you've already got, or you can go and sign up with your email address. So go ahead and do that. We won't show you how to do that. So just go ahead and sign up accordingly. And once you've got that, we then log in with our account. Once that's done, we've now logged in. Now you will actually notice that one step before, it's gone and created a brand new tab. So here is my NAS originally, and you'll actually see that the IP address is exactly the same. It's now just opening up the Plex application within a new tab on my browser. First things first is I need to give my Plex server a name. It's already gone and defined Emilio ASUSTOR because that's the name of my NAS. You can call this whatever you want, but when you have a device such as a phone or a TV, for example, running the Plex application, it's going to scan the network and it's going to find the Plex server that is called whatever you're going to be calling it right here. So we're going to go and give that a specific name. Do you want to allow access to this media from outside of your home or not? Up to you if you want to be able to access that data from outside of your home, essentially access Plex over the internet. I personally prefer not to do that because it just punches a little bit of a hole on your NAS, exposing your NAS out to the internet, and I don't like to do that sort of thing. So I'm going to actually untick that, but you can do that if you so want to. And now we start configuring the Plex server to talk to the media that's sitting on your NAS. So we're going to go and create a library. What is the type of library that you want? Now, movies, TV shows, music, photos, and other options that we've got. Essentially, you've got a folder. I've got a folder that I've shown you called movies. So I'm going to be selecting the media type is movies. And the reason it's going to be selecting different options here is because it's going to go and scan the internet and look for databases of movies and compare them against movies that are actual movies in your folder. If you select TV shows and you point it to a movies folder on your NAS, it's not going to pick up the right information. So make sure that you try to match up the categories, the types of data, the types of video files as closely as possible. So the first one that we're going to do is movies. I'm going to call it movies. You can call this whatever you want. You could call it Hollywood movies, Bollywood movies, whatever sort of movies that you want. And next, and I'm going to go and browse for my media folder. And this is where I point the Plex server, which I'm setting up right here, the movies category that I've just selected. I'm going to point it now to the movies folder that I have created and I've uploaded media to on my NAS. So let's do that. You'll see that I've got my media folder. And in there, I've got movies, and that matches up to what we were looking at before. Over here, here is media, and here is movies. So that will match up. That's exactly the same thing. Movies, there are all of my movies. I'm going to say add, okay? And add library. Done. That's now created movies. Let's do one more. We're going to go add library. And now this time I'm going to do TV shows right there. I'm going to leave it as TV shows. I'm happy with that name. Browse, and now I'm going to point it to media, TV shows, and add. Done. And then finally, you saw that I've got one called travel. Let's just make sure what it was called. It's called travel videos. We can call it the same thing. And now I'm going to select other videos. And the reason I'm going to do this is because these videos that I've got are stuff that I've recorded, things that I've done myself. So it's not going to need to compare it against a database out on the internet. I don't want it to go and download cover art and a plot of a movie because it's my stuff. So I'm going to select other videos. We're going to call this travel vids. Next. And I'm now going to point that to that one and add. and add. Okay, that's the 3 that I'm going to go and create. I'm going to select next. If everything looks good, we're going to select done. But before we do this, remember, you now got to go get your application set up. So you need to grab the Plex app for all your favorite devices. So any device on your network that you want to be able to access the Plex server, remembering that our NAS is going to act as the Plex server. It's going to be turned on. All of your media sits on that. You now need another device, a TV with an Apple TV, an iPhone, an Android device. You get the Plex app that you can download from the app stores, install them on those devices, and as long as they're on the same network, it should find your Plex server. Done. Okay, now, I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. Don't get freaked out. And the reason that is like that is because I've got an Aguero NAS, I've got another NAS, and I've also got my MacBook Pro running Plex servers because I've got several Plex servers running around the place. But the ones that we're concerned about are the ones that are under Emilio ASUSTOR. Here are the 3 folders that we created, or the 3 categories: movies, TV shows, and travel videos. Yours will not have all of this other stuff, okay? Just be aware of that. Yours won't have all of that. But if I now go into here, you'll notice it's gone and actually found all of the cover art. For my movies, it's actually gone and downloaded the cover, the actual title, the video, poster, for example, of that movie. And if I click on this, you'll see that it's also downloaded a little thing about the tagline and a little information about the movie itself. Now I can go and change whatever I want in here, because when I open up the Plex application on my TV, for example, it's going to show me all the information about this movie. Maybe I don't want it to say this, I want to change it, you can go and change it. If you don't like the poster, you can go and change it. You can upload a new one. It's pretty easy. You'll see that actually I've selected poster, and there's all these other posters available for me to use. I don't have to use the one that it's selected. So it's actually pretty cool. So if I like this one better, save change, and that will actually download that new one, and it's now going to update it right over there. Okay. Now here, this one's not correct. Me and RoboCop, the movie. Well, this movie was actually RoboCop. So I'm going to select these 3 little dots, and I'm going to say fix match. It's not correct. And there you go. There's some other options available to me. Remembering this is actually going to be scanning a database out on the internet. I like this one better, so I'm going to go and select that. It's now updating the cover, and it's updating all of the description of that movie. It's done the same thing for TV shows. Here it is, season 5, and all of the videos underneath it. I can go into here, and you can see all the information about those movies, those TV shows. Okay, and then travel videos will just not have anything. Travel videos is just stuff that I've recorded, hasn't downloaded any cover arts. It all looks pretty straightforward. And look, I can start playing all of this stuff directly from my Plex server, but now that this is set up, you should be able to now open up your personal device, your TV, your smartphone, and should be able to scan all of this. There you have it, it's all done. Hopefully now you've got the info needed to either go and buy one, or if you've got one, how to get the thing all up and running. That's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Do the subscription thing as well. We'll see you on the next video.